All right, I got to go to plan B to get the questions for today. And here's what I decided to do. I got a long email yesterday from the guy who runs the PFT PM Posse account. And he's had some rough stuff go on in his life now, losses in the family, etc. And he had a bunch of questions he wanted to ask. So I thought, you know what, since I answer like 7 questions a week from him anyway, I'll just answer his questions today. And we'll make that today's mailbag. All right, first question from our good friend Bobby, who is the person who runs the PFT PM Posse account. What are the odds Dak Prescott chooses to move on from the Cowboys because he's tired of the circus that comes with being Cowboys quarterback, constantly being criticized no matter what, etc. He does look and sound more tired with it all the last 12 months or so. Well, here's the reality. He has no trade clause, but one way that the Cowboys can manage this $59 million cap number next year is to trade him if he would accept a trade. Now, where would he want to go? Who would he play for? Who knows? We talked about this on PFT Live today, though. Michael Parsons complaining about the criticism of Dak Prescott, the criticism of the Cowboys. That's part of what comes from playing for the Cowboys, America's team. And it's not the reporters who cover the team. It's the national voices, the phony debate shows. Somebody is pro-Cowboys, somebody is anti-Cowboys. Makes for a more compelling show, even if it's fugazi. A lot of the criticism of the Cowboys is fugazi because you got to balance out the Cowboys fan who's one of the panelists or hosts on the show. That's why it happens. Now, Dak might just be thinking, I expected by now to have greater success than I've had. And maybe it does wear on him over time. Maybe he would like to go play for the Cardinals or some other team with a lower profile where they really aren't paying attention to how well you're doing. But, the reality for Dak, if he goes wire to wire with the Cowboys, he waltzes right into a broadcast booth. Look at all the former Cowboys who are in broadcasting, in high-level spots. Troy Aikman, Tony Romo, Jimmy Johnson, Michael Irvin. Jason Witten had Monday Night Football for a while. There's value in being connected to the most popular team, the most polarizing team in the NFL for the entirety of your career. Next one, if the NFL wants to promote Olympic flag football and encourage NFL players to play, shouldn't they make adjustments to player contracts so any injury suffered while training, practicing, playing in Olympics doesn't count as a non-football injury? It's a great point. Great point, Bobby. If they're going to do this, they better make sure, because even though it's no contact, ideally, you still are going to have bodies colliding. I got a concussion playing flag football in law school. Banged heads with another guy. It happens. So, yeah, somebody can get injured. Remember the Robert Edwards injury? That was beach football. Completely ripped up his knee to the point where they were talking about amputation. So you'd want to, and this is why they need to work with the NFLPA. You'd want to ensure that the players have that protection. And the problem is the teams might say, what's in it for us? Why are we looking the other way on a contract that says you can't do other things like this? Why are we taking the risk of potentially losing a player and having to pay his salary because he got injured playing Olympic flag football that benefited us in no way whatsoever? They'll have to come up with a separate fund to pay the salaries of the players who would play in those games and potentially get hurt, and maybe give cap relief to the teams. It's going to take something like that to make it work. Somebody's got to pay the players if they get injured. The teams can't be penalized other than, not having the player. But financially, there can't be a punishment. There can't be a cap consequence. Those are the kinds of things the union and the league need to work on. But great question there. Another one. Do you think Kyle Shanahan knew that George Kittle had the F-K Dallas t-shirt and that's why he got him 3 touchdowns? I don't think he knew. I don't think he knew. I don't think he knew. I just think it just kind of happened. Number 4, are tackles employing the Legion of Boom strategy and daring officials to throw a flag on every play? Yes, we already talked about that. Yes, I think they are. Hold every play. Hold every play. Force them to throw the flag. Legion of Boom did that to receivers 10 years ago. Hold the receiver, mug the receiver, hit the receiver on every play, force the official to throw the flag. They won't. At some point, they won't. Great question there, too. All right. Another one related to the same point. How will the NFL deal with players intentionally breaking rules at the end of games, such as when a DB mugs a receiver every snap on the final drive, knowing officials won't call it over and over again, a la the region of boom, and seemingly many offensive tackles this year? What's the NFL going to do? It doesn't happen all that often, but you get yourself in a first and goal situation on the last play of the game or on an untimed down. The coaching point to the defensive back should be, never let the guy catch the ball. Take him out. Not in a way that's unsafe. Don't grab him by the horse collar, but take him out. They're just going to do it again. And all it takes is one time for the official to not throw the flag, and it's game over. Force him to run it, and if they're going to throw it, take the guy out and keep doing it over and over again. Absolutely, positively, I think that makes sense. Next one, can players be ejected or penalized before a game starts, like if there's a pregame fight and somebody goes too far? Yes. Jeremiah Trotter was ejected for a fight between the Falcons and Eagles on a Monday night in 2005. And that's what prompted the NFL to wring its hands and gnash its teeth about pregame conduct, and they keep the players separated. They have yard lines. They have distances. Something happened this past week where the Browns and 49ers got too close together. The Chargers and the Cowboys got too close together. I expect at some point before kickoff tomorrow night, the NFL to gift wrap for one of its reporters on the payroll a scoop that a memo has been sent to all teams and officials reminding of the proper pregame protocols and the reality that there can be penalties, there will be fines, and there could be ejections for behavior that happens before the game. And frankly, Trent Williams could have been ejected, came out of nowhere and hit Elijah Moore in that fight before Browns 49ers. And Dante Fowler hit Austin Eckler and knocked his helmet off. He could have been ejected as well. Next question. He's got 12 of them today. That's good. How much do coaches withhold from their colleagues they work with because they might be coaching against them in the future and don't want them to know it all versus telling them everything they can to help with their current team job? Look, I don't know because I think it varies from coach to coach, but I think that you don't completely tell your methods, your processes, your procedures and protocols to guys that you know may end up coaching against you, because why wouldn't you use it? All's fair at that point. You use anything you picked up while you were working for that guy you're now coaching against. So I would be very careful about what I shared with assistant coaches that I know I could be coaching against. You want them to develop, you want them to grow, but you don't want them to kick your ass because they know all your secrets. You got to hold some stuff back. Next, what do you think Bill Belichick will do after Kraft forces him to mutually part ways after this season? Most likely head coach again. I don't see it unless it's just to help his boys out. NFL consultant, lacrosse coach, head coach at the Naval Academy. That's the one that when we kick this around on the PFT writers text chain, head coach at the Naval Academy. And I don't know anything about the status of the current head coach there, but it would make sense for him to go full circle. He got started with his football education when his dad was a scout at Annapolis. I could see him going back there to wrap up his career, get away from all the scrutiny, get away from the expectations, and go back to the level of the sport where his love for the game was first ignited. It would make a ton of sense. Next one, what's the worst, most boring, anticlimactic NFL season you can remember, and why was it? Wow. Most boring, worst, anticlimactic season? I don't know that there is one, because they all end with a Super Bowl. They all end with a Super Bowl champion. And it doesn't matter who the teams are. You know, for other sports, TV executives want big markets. They want exciting teams. It doesn't matter for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is getting 100+ million no matter who plays. It could be Jaguars, Cardinals, and still get over 100 million, because to get to the point where you're in the Super Bowl, you will have won high-profile games that a lot of people were watching, and your legend grows, your attractiveness grows, your fan base grows. A lot of fans out there just looking to jump on whatever bandwagon rolls their way. So I can't think of it's never boring. It's never anticlimactic. It's never bad, because it always ends with the ultimate American sporting event, the Super Bowl. Next one, 3 left. How lazy is the media when handing out awards? MVP is almost always the quarterback from a number 1 seed. Offensive player of the year is the non-quarterback who probably should have been MVP. And defensive player of the year is typically the sack interception leader. I mean, the problem with defensive player of the year, there aren't many positions that generate a lot of statistics. So sacks and interceptions really do influence people. MVP this year is going to be fascinating if the Dolphins end up the 1 seed in the AFC. Because I'm coming around to Chris Sims' argument that Tyreek Hill's the MVP over Tua. Now, good luck convincing each of the 50 people who have the votes, and Chris and I have the votes, and it may be more than 50 now, I don't know. I think it is 50. There are going to be people who just like Tua and people who don't like Tyreek Hill. Will they be able to set that aside? It's very easy to say, well, yeah, Tyreek Hill had 2,000 plus receiving yards, but Tua had 5,500 passing yards. And I think that's one of the reasons why a receiver's never been the MVP, because you can't have a great receiving season without a great quarterback season. So every year you've had that great receiver, there's been a better quarterback who ends up getting the MVP votes. So I don't know whether it's lazy. I don't know that it's lazy. I just think it's willingness to go beyond the accepted formula. And for now, the accepted formula is it's a quarterback from one of the 2 teams that finished with the number 1 seed. And we kind of know who the finalists are. And we kind of know instinctively who the winner is by the time the regular season ends. Couple more. Should the franchise tag formula be adjusted so the tag amount makes them truly a franchise player, whether it's top 3 money at the position, top 5 on the team, top 5 in the league, or something similar? I mean, currently, let me back up. What the formula for the franchise player used to be was the average of the 5 highest cap numbers for the players at that position the prior year. That was the base franchise tag. Now, I want to make sure I get this right. It's an average of the percentage of the salary cap that the 5 highest paid players at the position consumed on average prior to this year. So, for example, quarterback franchise tag for 2024, it would be 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23. The 5 highest paid quarterbacks, 5 highest cap numbers, the average each year, the cap percentage that average consumes, that becomes the cap percentage that gets applied to whatever the salary cap is for 2024. And that's why I'm a big proponent of one of these franchise quarterbacks getting paid a portion of the salary cap. They already use salary cap percentage to set the franchise tags. This isn't a bridge the NFL has never crossed before. They cross it every year when the franchise tag numbers are set. We don't know the franchise tag number until we know the salary cap, because all we know is the percentage based upon the 5 prior years, what that percentage will be for the given position. What's the general rule when NFL media work together and for the same organization on sources? Do y'all talk among each other to get to the bottom of something and reveal sources to each other? Do you know each other's sources from experience, et cetera? Look, I mean, there's a lot of guessing that gets done as to who people's sources are, and a lot of times it's right and a lot of times it's wrong. I think it's important not to share sources with anyone you don't work with. And even then, with the people you work with, there are times where it's important to keep your cards close to the vest to protect the source, because we know how human nature is. People like to tell secrets. People like to show that they have information. We all like to tell one person and to say to that person, don't tell anyone. And as we're told, don't tell anyone, we say, okay. And then we go tell somebody a couple of weeks later when that urgency of the vow that we took has subsided. Well, I'm just telling one person, and I'm telling them not to tell anybody, and they won't tell anybody for a couple of weeks, and so on. So I've never disclosed a source outside of the PFT family, and very rarely do I even mention among the PFT writers who it is I'm getting my information from. You just have to protect your source. You have to protect your source at all times. And I'm confused at times when there are stories that have 2 different reporters on it. Now, if there's elements of a story, multiple elements, I could see how you'd have multiple reporters involved and you piece it together. But for example, the other day when Frank Reich gave up play calling to Thomas Brown, coach of the Panthers, surrendering the offensive play calling to the offensive coordinator. NFL media has 3 guys on the story. What? I mean, surely one of them got it first. Like, how does this work where they all piss on the same turf and they all end up getting the credit for the same one thing? Like, did they all get the same text at the same time? Is this a matter of fairness? Because that's what happens. Agents, and I'm sure some of the information robots out there are going to be upset that I'm saying this. I think I've said it before, though, so what the hell? There are agents out there who have a list of reporters that they'll send information to, and they all get the same text. And you'll see different reporters tweet almost the identical language from the text message, seconds apart, a couple of minutes apart. They're all getting the same information. So I don't know, maybe all 3 guys from NFL Network got the same text from the same source at the same time. It's really not a complicated process. It's just a matter of getting yourself injected into the bloodstream and being compliant with that bloodstream. Don't ask questions about what a contract's really worth. Don't ask what the full guarantee is. Don't point out that there was some bullshit in the numbers. If you're willing to hold your nose and just report whatever you're told, that's how you continue to be told things. So, the soul isn't sold in bulk if you're one of these reporters chasing transactional information that's going to be announced 5 minutes later anyway. It's sold in slivers, especially for the people who already work for the league. And I know they get mad about that, but come on. You're working for the league. You're employed by all 32 teams. They have a vested interest in feeding that machine that they own, of propping up the machine that they own. They want people to come to NFL.com and NFL Network for the official information. So how do you do it? Well, before you announce the move, you send a text to the 3 NFL Network reporters to boost that portion of your business. It's good business. A lot of fans don't care. They just want the information. But boy, the people who are taking the paycheck from the NFL to cover the NFL get pissed off when people like me say, you're just getting a 5-minute heads up because that team recognizes the value of supporting the media company that team partially owns under the auspices of the broader NFL shield. That's it for today. Usually go about an hour, but 40 minutes is fine. Law of diminishing returns and whatnot. Covered everything we needed to cover, and we'll do it every Wednesday throughout the course of the 2023 regular season and postseason. After that, we'll see. Thanks as always for some of your time. Thursday morning, PFT Live, followed by the Joint Mega Picks podcast. Had some fun with Chris last week, pulling some upsets. We ended up both 10-5. We'll give you the full breakdown of how we did against the spread, how our best bets did, and what all of our picks will be straight up and against the spread for week 7. That's coming tomorrow. Check us out around the clock at profootballtalk.com. And as always, thanks for some of your time. I know that's something. I just checked the box to say that, but I know your time is valuable. And I know that there's a lot of different things you can consume. The fact that you choose to give us some of your time means a lot to us because that's kind of how we get paid. So thank you for helping us get paid. And we'll see you again next time. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.